Hello, Alabama. I'm Jason Sanders, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, coming up in the race in 2020. And I wanted to take a minute to talk about an issue that in reality is not something that the U.S. Senate would have any real authority or jurisdiction over, but it is an issue that's been pretty hot on the Alabama topic here lately. And so I happened to be at an Alabama gathering of Republicans yesterday, and one of the things that came up was this issue. And in fact, the lieutenant governor of the state was there trying to gain some support for this issue. And I noticed he talked about a lot of the benefits of what it would bring to the state. But I also noticed that he left out the part about there was going to be a 10-cent increase of gasoline per gallon in the entire point of the conversation. And I think that's pretty telling. I think that's a pretty good indicator that the powers that be are aware of the fact that the voting public at large is not really looking to have their taxes raised anymore, even if it is to repair infrastructure. And I'm one of those people. Certainly I want to repair infrastructure. I would like to see our roads paved and bridges repaired. But I think we've all reached the point where we're tired of seeing our taxes raised, and we just don't necessarily feel like that the money is being spent responsibly. And I'm going to give you a good example of why I think most people feel that way. So just bear with me here while I describe a scene that I think most everybody who watches this video can probably agree that this is typically how it looks when you drive through a road construction zone. Problem number one when you're passing through a road construction zone is that the road construction has been going on for way too long. I can think back when I was in high school and first began to notice road construction. That was when I was first beginning to drive. Some of these road construction projects seem to just linger on for sometimes 5, 7, 8 years and never seem to be getting any progress done on them. It seemed like more often than not there was no one on the site, but the speed limit has been reduced. There are road barrels out everywhere, and there are things in the road. There are rocks, windshields getting chipped. All the problems that come along with road construction, and those problems seem to just be prolonged for what, as far as I could tell, was just no reason. Another issue that people find that when there are workers present, although sometimes you do see them out there working, it seems like most of the time there's, maybe one guy leaned up on a shovel and 4 or 5 people standing around talking with him about something, and maybe there's 4 or 5 brand new Chevrolet trucks, $35,000, $45,000 a piece, sitting out there, $500,000 worth of heavy equipment not being used. And you pass by, me in my line of work, I do a lot of traveling, and you pass by these construction sites sometimes multiple times a day or a week, and you see the same thing over and over and over again. And then it becomes clear to you why this project has taken so long to complete. It's because during the times when they're not there standing around talking about whatever they're talking about, leaning on shovels, you feel like they're at some other construction site somewhere else standing around leaning on shovels and not paving the road. And so as far as I'm concerned, I want to say, before we raise taxes, let's find out where the disconnect lies and why it takes so long to get some of these road construction projects completed. And I think we can probably save a lot of money right there by itself. So I'm going to say, until you can demonstrate to me that the state has responsibly spent the money, and at the end of it, there's still not enough money to finish these projects, I'm not willing to support that project. And I'll go ahead and say that I don't believe that it can be demonstrated that the state has responsibly spent that money. Now, I know people who are going to disagree with me will say, but it isn't the state, it's contractors. And I certainly understand that. But those contractors, they're not doing these jobs for free. There's only a handful of contractors who can meet the state's requirement to take on these positions. And so these contractors have been in business for a long time, and they're not in the business to lose money. So I'm convinced that they understand that there's going to be a lot more downtime than uptime, and it seems like they build that into the contract, and we, the taxpayer, are left paying for that. So at the end of the day, I'm going to say I might support that measure if you could prove to me that I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. The other thing that I found astonishing about this whole incident is how many people in the political class seem to be for this measure. And I'll go ahead and say that I believe that that's due to a complete and total disconnect between what I'm just going to call regular people and the political class. That's why people like myself have said, look, I'm a regular guy, but I'm tired of what I consider to be fraud, waste, and abuse and corruption that I see in the government, and I'd like a regular person to go run for office. And at least maybe then there could be some communication where you would say, well, this didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but here's a good reason why. Or better yet, and I think more likely, we'll say, this isn't going the way that we want it to go, because they have become so accustomed to doing things that just don't make sense, that in the political world, the things that they're doing make perfect sense, when to everyone else we say, well, why would you do that? You're just wasting time and wasting money and creating problems for the voting public. So if you feel like I feel and you think that it's time to send regular people to Washington to govern, then I'm going to ask for your support, and I'm going to ask you to head over to timetestedpolitics.com and see what you can do to support me. The very first thing that I'll ask is you can go ahead and click that donate button. Campaigning is expensive. There are monetary thresholds that I have to meet in order to be able to put my name on the ballot, and I'm still climbing toward that goal now. So any amount that you can donate is helpful, no matter how small you may think it is. Any amount helps. The second thing you can do is, if donating is just not in the cards, that's perfectly fine. Just share this video with people. One of the things that helps me get donations is name recognition and brand awareness. At the end of the day, it's hard to get a donation from someone who doesn't believe that you have the staying power or the ability to go all the way. So the more people who know my name, the more likely I am to raise the money and meet those thresholds and make it to Washington and try to bring a little bit of common sense back into government. And of course, the last thing you can do to show your support is just vote. I think too many people have forgotten that your politicians most of them are not elected leaders. They are elected representatives. So when you go and you cast a vote and you send people to Washington or to the state or to whatever government position it is that you're voting for who represent you, we create a better nation for all of us. So until next time, this is Jason Sanders, U.S. Senate candidate from Alabama, Republican.